Hello everybody and welcome to the next in my series of videos on Choose Your Own Adventure Stories. Now hopefully you've had a chance to look at the first one, which is a guided reading activity based around a little story I wrote called A Meal for Chak. That's only the first chapter of a story, but I'm not going to go ahead and write the rest of it. It was just really for an example of how this kind of thing works for you guys. If you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, I do advise you do so before you carry on, because it will give you a bit of a better idea of how this genre and style of writing works in practice if you haven't encountered it before. But it's not a deal breaker. If you did just want to get on with writing your own, you could. So the first thing I'm going to do in this video is show you how to use the website where you can create your own Choose Your Own Adventure story, and it is much easier to do it on the computer this way than it will be writing it by hand. So that will be the first thing. After that, we'll go into a bit more discussion in detail about actually choosing your storyline and the different choices and things like that, a few authorial choices there. And the final part of the video, I'll go on to doing a bit of a modelled writing of writing in this style to really flesh out, once you've got that map built, how to get the story written to a really effective level. So I strongly advise you to watch all of the video, but if you did just want to work out how to get started and get going, then just watch the bits that apply to you. So without further ado, let's skip to the screenshots. Right, the first thing that you are going to need to do is head to a browser window and go to the Inklewriter website, which is www.inklewriter.com, and it's appearing right down at the bottom of the screen for you now. When you get there, you should be faced with this window here. Welcome to Inklewriter free. Notice that that free thing is perfect. You don't even need to log in, sign in to use the website if you don't want to, although if you want to save it and share it, you will need to do that later. For now then, let's assume that you just want to have a go, not create a new login and sign in. You just want to get started and see what the website offers. So you're just going to click new, and immediately you'll be faced with this screen. Now on this screen, you can see that they've taken the liberty of starting with the most cliched and ridiculous storyline opening in the world, and they've gone with Once Upon a Time. So if you wanted to keep that, you could. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. Let's come up with a sample story about, I don't know, being stuck in, let's be a sort of underground cave system, a little bit like some of the games I used to play when I was younger. So we're going to be stuck in this almost like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of world, underground cave. I'm on my own, so I'm not going to make any attempt to write this well. I'm just going to write a sort of plot outline really in these things. So section 1, I can just start with you're faced with 2 tunnels. The one on the left looks small, and the one on the right is bigger, but goes downhill. Goes deeper under the surface. Okay, and we're going to assume that the point of my story is to work out whether or is to try and escape the underground somehow. So, facing early on with this choice, am I going to go left? It looks small and narrow and cramped. Am I going to go right? It's bigger, more comfortable, but it's going deeper under the surface and probably away from where I want to go. So I've set up my choice very early on. Now later I'll come back and write over the top of this and make it into a good bit of a story. But we don't need to do that yet. So now I must add my 2 choices. So if I click on add option, I can put my first choice, turn left. Easy. That's the one where it looks small. Add another option, turn right. Click away from there, and I've got, as you can see here, 2 loose ends because I've given my reader a choice, but I haven't written what happens yet. Now up here, you should be able to see the write and the read options. We're in write mode at the moment. We're not going to skip to read mode just yet, but that's later on. That's how you will sort of test out your story and see if it works. So now I'm going to start writing what happens if I go left, which is the small one. So I can click on this arrow here. If you see, if I hover over it, it says follow this option. If I click that, it takes me to this new box, which is linked to turning left. So I turn left, I squeeze through. So I squeeze through the gap. Let's have my hurt my arm. Hurt your arm, because it's you. Hurt your arm. Just a bit of a graze. Oh dear. Then, notice every time I press return or enter, it takes me down into a whole new box, and that's fine. That's kind of how the paragraphing works, and this is not a problem. So I squeeze through, and I hurt my arm, and I notice some strange symbols on the wall look like a warning. Don't know why, but they just do. Okay, so now again I'm going to have some new options on this one. I'm going to turn back because I've noticed this warning. I'm going to carry on because I want to give my reader an option to turn back if they really need to. You can notice up here I've still got one loose end, the turn right, which I haven't written yet. And here I've got two new loose ends for turning back and carrying on. Okay, let's suppose I turn back. I want my reader to have felt, oh no, I've gone there, I've turned back. I don't want it to be completely meaningless like that would have been. So this time when I squeeze back through, hurt arm more, starts to bleed. Okay, so the first time I went through that little narrow gap, it wasn't too bad, but this time it starts to bleed. What a nightmare. Oh no, I went that way, I turned back, and actually, as a result in my story, I'm now bleeding when I wouldn't have been if I just turned right in the first place. Okay, makes sense? I don't want to go any further on that one just yet, so I'm going to go back to my previous choice and use the rewind button, which gives me these choices again. You can see now that I've written the turn back one, it's gone grey. For the carrying on, it has. I'm going to use the carry on option. Right, I'm carrying on anyway, despite it being a warning. I'm going to notice some limestone, some loose limestone on floor. Pick up. I'm going to pick it up, so in case I can use it later. Then see small tunnel. Go down it. Okay, perfect. Let's go rewinding again, shall we? Now I've got no loose ends down here at all, no choices unwritten. So I'm going to rewind all the way back to the start now and write the turn right option. Now, if you remember, right was bigger but it goes deeper under the surface. So I follow the passageway down away from the surface. Right, at this point we're going to be a little bit clever because one of my storylines already where he turned back is going to result in coming back here anyway, isn't it? So if I rewind again to when I turned left and when I turned back, I squeeze back through and my arm hurt more. I want to join this to an existing paragraph because now that I've turned back from there, I have to go the other way. Well, I've already written the piece for going the other way, so I can join it to an existing paragraph. If I click there, my content section comes at the end, and I can choose the bit. And where was it? What was it? Follow the passageway down away from the surface. That's where I want to take it to. You can see now, this follow the passageway down away from the surface has got two links in, two different ways in the story to end up going down there. The first way is to go down there in the first place, and the second way is to have gone through the little squeeze, turned back, and gone down there because I didn't want to carry on because of those warning symbols. Now, in actual fact, if I really wanted to, I suppose we could rewind, carry on through that strange symbol like the warning, because I could even have this small tunnel go down it, it emerges into the same tunnel as we started. Okay, and when we come to that, I can join that once again to that follow the passageway down away from the surface. And you can see there now I've got three different ways to go in there. So basically those other two ways, my story is sort of making sure I go down that passageway anyway, but with some different things. So now I'm going to show you one more neat thing about how this can work. Let's go back to the point where I turn back and hurt my arm. Starts to bleed. Now, here you can see this small red ribbon. If I dangle over that, it says add a marker. I am going to click there this time. I'm going to add a marker, and that marker is a blood marker. So I'm just going to write blood because I've started to bleed, right? So I add that, press and return, and you can see that this now has a little marker to do with blood. There was another way where something happened, wasn't there? Which was picking up some chalk, and I think that was in the carry-on bit. Where is the chalk? There we go, picking up the limestone. So I'm going to add that chalk marker, because now if I've gone that way, my character's still going to end up following that other passageway, but if they've done it that way, they have some chalk. If they went the other way and hurt their arm first, they're actually bleeding already. If I went down in the first place, I haven't got chalk or blood. So I'm now going to show you how this works. Here we go, following the passageway down. Just going to add a new paragraph in here, and this is going to be for one for if it's bleeding. Actually, no, it's not. This is going to be, I want to make some marks on the wall. Decide to make marks on wall to show which tunnels you've been in. Okay, makes good sense, doesn't it? So, next paragraph, right, for the blood, if my arm is bleeding quite a lot, I could use that blood to mark the wall. So, mark wall with blood. But I only want that to be an option if I was actually bleeding in the first place. So this is where, at the bottom left of the screen, we have this if. Once I've written the paragraph that I want to only make true if there's blood, this is a little bit like some of the computing that we've done on Purple Mash, I can insert a condition. So I'll click that if. You see this grey box up here, I want to add a condition. If I've passed the marker on blood, double click, then it will show me mark wall with blood. Okay. Equally, I could mark the wall with the chalk that I picked up on the other way, but I only want that to happen if I pass the marker with the chalk. Okay. And I suppose I should also cover the final option that I can't mark it with anything yet. I don't have anything, so I need to look for something to mark with. And I'll only show that one if I haven't passed blood or chalk. Because if I haven't passed either of those, I've got nothing to mark it with yet. Okay, click away from there, and I've now got 3 different options. Right, here we are. This is the read mode I talked about earlier. Okay, to start with, it's here. You're faced with 2 tunnels. Left looks smaller. Let's test out. Let's test out whether I can mark the walls with blood. So to do that, I needed to turn left, hurt my arm, decide to turn back and hurt my arm even more. Notice over there the blood marker's shown. And now at the end of it, I mark the wall with the blood. Seems to work for the blood. Let's just check then. Instead of turning back, I carry on. I pick up the chalk, as you can see here. And at the end here, I'm marking the wall with chalk. One more thing to test, I suppose, is that actually, even at the very start, rewinding right to the start, if I just turned right in the first place, decide to make the marks, need to look for something to mark with, perfect. It's working nicely. So that is basically how the site works. Now you can also add formatting with bold and italics. You can even add pictures if you want to, but I would suggest getting your vague sort of storyline in place first. Now once you're done, or even as you're going, you can also have a look at the map. So if we open a map here, you can see that this is actually how my story maps out. Faced with the 2 tunnels, this sort of long purpley item here is basically taking me to what if I just turn right straight away. These other ones are showing, well, this was me turning left, and here are the 2 choices: to carry on, which takes me down there, or to turn back. If I turn back, it takes me here, which is what we wanted. If I carry on, I pick up the chalk, go down the tunnel, and I come back into that other tunnel as well. And I still end up in the same place. So that is the map mode of the site. Right, enough screenshotting now. I don't think that you're necessarily going to have understood all that first time, so I advise you to basically have a little go and have a play with it. And yeah, for now, that's probably it. Well, now I've shown you how Inkle Writer works as a site, and as I said, you're probably going to need to have a little look at it really and a little play with it just to see what it can do. And at first it might be a bit confusing, but you soon pick it up because it is quite straightforward really. Now you've thought about that basic map, you really need to think about what's going to be in your story. You need to choose a theme. It could be sports, dragons, zombies. It could be like a little cave thing, just like mine was. Goblins, wizards, pirates, zombies, school, science fiction, aliens, anything you like, really. But try and make it about something where the choices might seem significant and important. So if you're writing a football story, you're not going to choose it to be a choice you make. Like, it's the 3rd minute of a pre-season friendly. It's going to be in the last minute of a World Cup final. Okay? If it's zombies, then it's not a choice about, oh, shall we go out today? It looks a bit risky, or shall we try and wait another day? It's about, I am out foraging because I had to be, and now there's a zombie coming at me. If it's, it's a run or fight, it's got to be a sense of risk or danger or jeopardy, something interesting, because there's no point having a choice that's not interesting. So think about some of the interesting decisions that your theme could use. Start small, assume you're only going to have 2 versions of your story, 2 possible endings. Okay, so in that football story, in the last minute of the World Cup final, are you going to shoot or pass? And maybe if you shoot, you blaze it over and your team loses. But if you pass, it goes across the goal and your teammate taps it in and you win the World Cup. So it was about, am I going to be selfish and go for the glory and lose, or am I going to pass it and win? Your story had 2 outcomes, and the reader's choice was the difference between winning and losing. If you go with pirates, are you going to surrender or are you going to try and fight? And depending on which one you choose, the story will look and feel different. And the choice is an interesting choice for the story and gives it a chance to develop itself. You're looking for, as I said, start small. Try one with just 2 options. Don't go straight into as complicated as my one was. I only made it that complicated to show you how the software works and how you can work it through. So start small and see what you can do. Once you've had a go at doing that, maybe come back to the video and look at the last section, which I'm about to show you now, about improving your writing and actually making it read really nicely as a story. All right? So here we are once more then, back at my story, which hasn't been well written but has been planned. The other thing you might notice is that I have now used the sign in option in the top left. That's going to be the kind of option you're going to use if you want to be able to save it and share it. To do so, you will need an email address. Maybe use your parents or check with your parents if they're unsure. And once it's done, it really is very simple. They've never spammed me, they've never sent me anything other than this. It really does seem very straightforward. So I don't think there's any risk to it, but do check with your parents that they're happy just in case. Right, now let's think carefully then about making this better. Because I want to be faced with 2 tunnels and left looks small and the right's bigger. But I need it to sound good. So here we go. You stand in the dimly lit cave. Notice straight away it's you, the reader. This is that 2nd person voice we talked about. Your lantern fading with each passing moment. I want there to be a sense of urgency and jeopardy and risk. Let's build up some atmosphere. The silence is as thick and black as tar. Okay, it's a bit metaphorical, figurative language. You must find your way back to the surface soon, or you will never be seen again. I'm laying it on thick here, really, because I want my reader to straight away think it's important. Of that, you are certain. Nice opening paragraph there. Now it's all in the present tense, not you stood, it's you stand. You stand. 2nd person, present tense. Ahead of you, the cave splits into 2 even narrower channels. One, almost too narrow for you to fit through. Oh, that doesn't say through, does it? For you to fit through. Forks to the left, I think I said, didn't I, in the plan? Forks to the left. The other tunnel, because I want to make sure my reader understands the choices they're making, the other tunnel to the right seems to lead downwards and away from the surface. I need them to understand that they're going away potentially from where they want to go. but let's give them some upside as well. But looks comfortably wide enough to walk through. And once again, let's make sure that they understand you can't take too long to make your decision. We don't know how long our lantern is going to last, so we can't stand around wasting time. Okay, there we are. Right back to the very start. There is my opening two things. I've set the decision. Turn left, turn right. Let's do left. So if I turn left, oh yeah, that's right, I was squeezing through and hurting my arm, wasn't I? So I've already said that it looks not very comfortable, so let's say just as you suspected, it is a very tight squeeze. So tight, in fact, that you scrape your arms on the jagged surface. It's painful, but not serious. The reason I'm putting that line in, of course, is because I want, in a moment, I know that one of my choices is to turn back and make it worse. So I don't want it to sound too serious yet. Once you are through the gap, let's say, once you're through the gap, the passage widens out into a chamber. You notice that there are strange symbols etched into the rock on every side. Oh, hang on a minute, I've gone straight into my next bit, haven't I? That's alright, we will put that as a new paragraph, shall we? I want to say that they look like a warning. So let's put it in there. Etched into the rock on every side. As you peer closely at them, unsure of what they might mean, you feel a cold chill run down your spine. Because I don't know what these weird symbols are, but I want to make sure, for some unknown reason, I've got to make sure that my reader understands that they seem to be a warning. You feel that they are a warning. Don't have any reason to know why. Perhaps you should have taken the right-hand passage after all. Because I know that I'm actually sizing up to give it the next choice, which is to turn back or carry on. So I'll just tell them it's not too late to change your mind. Although it does mean hurting your arms again. Again, I want to give my reader a sense of the decision they have to make and an idea of the risk that they might be taking in doing it. I'm staying still in that you notice, as you peer, you feel, all present tense, all that second person writing. And that really is the sort of style you need to be going with. You don't want to make the mistake of making it I, and it's quite an easy thing to do. I've done that several times as I've been writing them. So every now and again, you just got to take a step back, go back, check it, and make sure that you're still writing in the right tense and person. Because with this style of story more than any other, I find it difficult to maintain that tense. And I know that some of you guys struggle with maintaining the tense even at the best of times. So do be very careful. There's always you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. All right, you do this. That three-word phrase is a good model for the sentence grammar that you're going to need as you write this story. Right, I think that is enough from me on this. When you do finish, or as you write, actually, you will notice in the top corner here it says logged in as, and then my email address, and then it says saved. Okay, if I make a change, hello. Any minute now you'll see this starting to change, and it'll say something like saving soon, and then after that it'll say saved again. It automatically saves it for you as it goes through. There you go, saving soon. Any minute now that changes to say saved. It saves it every sort of 10-15 seconds or so, something like that. And when you're done with it, or even when you're not done, you can literally just close this. If I close the browser now and reopen it and log in, it'll be fine, it will still be there. And if you wanted to then share it, you just click share. and it will give you a bunch of links. Copy one of those links and send it in an email to whoever you want to share your story with. Right, that is enough from me on that, and I cannot wait to read your stories. So now you know everything you need to know. There's nothing more to say. Please do just make sure that you get your work sent in to the Year 6 email address, which is appearing at the bottom of the screen any moment, because we really would love to hear from you. And actually, even if you don't end up writing something or you don't even want to share it at the end, please do just drop us a line and let us know how you're getting on, because it's great to hear from you when you make contact. Right, hopefully you've enjoyed the ideas behind the video. Maybe you've even enjoyed the video, who knows, I doubt it. But if you have, that's great as well. Make sure you send those stories in, and until next time, I'll see you. Bye-bye.